Good morning, y'all. Welcome back to Mandy's Southern Stitching. As promised, I have both the previous 2 months door banners pieced, and now we're going to get ready to quilt them on my little Rebel with the QCT6 software. So here we are. This is May flowers, May in bloom, pretty tulips, and I'm going to do a tulip design on it, and I will show you as it's stitching out. And we're going to load this one on the frame in just a second. I'll just hang it right here. And I'm going to show you the June one, which is the Summer Sweets. Sweet Summer, I believe. It's called Sweet Summer. So, here it is. Very pretty. I love popsicles and ice cream cones. Sunshine says summer, and I backed it with just a yard of fabric I had in my stash that I got for $5 on sale at a local quilt shop last year. Like I said, trying to shop my stash as much as possible, especially for these smaller projects. So I thought this, since it's got a lot of blue and denim in it on the front, this denim color would be great for the back. I have the bindings cut out, and we will get them bound after we get them quilted. My goal was to get them both quilted today, and I'll show you an after shot. But let's get started and loading this one on the frame. Now I've got my little Rebel here. I've oiled it this morning. I didn't need to change the needle because I changed it towards the end of my last project because it was skipping stitches and stuff. And I wound a bobbin. We're going to use this Petal Pink Isocord thread for this one, and I'm probably going to use just a linen color for the other one. So I don't really have any blues that'll match, and I'm trying not to go buy a whole bunch of stuff. And so what we're going to do first, let me just set this right here. Let's take our rails off, our plastic rails off. I don't need those, I don't think. I'll leave them on. Remember the ridged ones? This is an old cutie frame, the original OG cutie frame, not the Breeze. The ridged ones are the front. The smooth ones are the back. Okay. And I'm just going to put it in the center of the frame here. Best I can. Probably going to have to take that out in a minute. I'm going to take those safety pins out in just a minute. But we'll get it on the frame here. And make sure that you clamp it good, but I still have some safe area here on the outside. And then we'll try to make sure it's as straight as possible. If it's not, it's okay. A little minor adjustment. Okay, straighten that out. Okay, so we got it. Now, I'm going to take these safety pins out in some of the areas here just so I can get the clamps on, and then we're going to baste it real quick before I start sewing, because we're going to use a more primitive, it's not primitive, it's just a lower tier program to quilt this because I'm testing it for a focus group for the company that makes it, Grace. So I want to give them some good feedback. So, okay. Alright. I'm not going to roll this up. It's got the clamps to roll it, but since mine sits up off the ground really good, and I took the frame off the my handles off because I mostly use automation. I'm not going to do that. I do need to put these straps up. If not, they will catch on my carriage and it will cause a disaster. Ask me how I know. So we're going to make sure that they're all up and out of the way. And I'm going to take these off and I'm going to baste all three sides here. And I just kind of grab this because it moves fairly easily and precise for me to do that. So we're going to make a stitch. And I'm going to pull my stitch up. And since this is fairly straight, I may lock my channel locks. I don't want it to go forward. So I'm going to lock my channel lock. Make sure. Okay, so it won't move forward. And I'm just going to start. I'm going to go really fast. Okay, I'm going to stop it because I'm going to have to readjust just slightly. So I'm going to undo my channel lock. Bear with me here. Looks like this wasn't on the frame. There we go. So, there we are. Okay, and adjustments, and then I'm going to this channel lock and make sure this is on the tracks. Alright. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go lock that channel lock. And we're going to come down this way. Something's happening here. I might not be able to lock this channel lock because it kind of raises it up and I don't want to catch. Let's see. Okay. Well, we're going to try to do it without the channel locks. I'm just going to have to be steady. Let's try again. Something's not working. Let's check the bobbin. Oh, looks like we got a little problem with our bobbin. It slipped out or something. So let's rethread it. Looks like it went all wonky on us. Oh goodness. Alright, well, I'm going to pause while I figure this out. I think I got it. I'm going to pause it. Alright, we're back. I got the top layer basted in the safe area. I've got the bobbin picked out. We're getting our program up and running. And we're going to just use the regular basic edge to edge. Right now I've got it set on Pro. You can see. So we're going to go to try other product tiers. Start. For the first one, we're going to go to edge. And it gives this new product here was created able to equal edge to edge design, simple, easy steps. And you can watch the tutorials. Okay. And we're going to keep all this on because I haven't used this yet. So it says fabric fit selection. Since I have a hoop style frame, what does mine look like? Well, mine, the whole thing is on within the safe area. So we're going to select this one. Okay, now we're going to select our saved areas. It's where we can't let it go out of. So easily, this is going to be our top left corner. Right about there. And this is going to be our bottom right corner. Right, I always go up just a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to choose our design. So, and I found a tulip design on here that looked pretty neat. So we're going to go down to it. We got twin tulips or tulip dance. And I think I'm going to do the twin tulips. Okay. And then we hit next. And we're going to select our height. And it says to use a ruler, and we can bring the ruler out to kind of see how we want it height-wise. Okay, so So we're going to select the design height. Right now it's at 1 7/8 inch, which would be about, let's see here, you can see, it would be about this big. Not very big at all. I don't want to bump it up. Maybe 2.5. Because I want it pretty big so that I don't have less passes I have to do too. So it'd be right about there. But it would be dense enough to keep this happy. So alright. And we're going to select our row spacing. Right now it's set at 0. They're pretty much staggered on top of each other, which is kind of what I want. I don't want them too spaced out. So, alright, it says select quilting top edge. Okay. So this is what our top looks like. So I was like, okay. And now we're going to touch the corners to set our area. So I'm going to move this right here. And touch it. And then we're going to bring it over. And touch it. And I'll bring it down. And touch it. And I'll bring it across. And touch it. So it looks kind of like that. And it's a little bit off, but that's okay. And it's just telling us it's chosen the ideal place to set it. So we're going to move the left placement marker. Okay, we're going to let it go where it needs to be, which is right there. How about that? And we're going to do a single stitch. Well, we're going to stop taping until I figure this out. We might do the next one. Alright, well, we got it going. It's going really slow on this beginner mode. I don't know if it's the beginner mode or just if my sewing machine and thing aren't talking correctly, but I mean, it is stitching very beautifully. It took me a few tries, and it's given me a lot of input to put in for them as far as it getting started, because I don't think it's calibrated correctly. But as you can see, very beautiful. It is a little bit low on the top, but that is because I couldn't get it to stitch all the way to the edge. For some reason, it would say it was out of my safe area, even though my safe area was set higher. But it is doing a good job. I love the color, thread. It's just taking forever. That's okay. Alright, folks. Hope you can hear over the machine here, but since this program is totally different than what I normally work on, I decided not to film it because it was getting a little frustrated with having to go back and restart and stuff. But here is our second door banner, being quilted with a kind of a bubbly pattern. It's called Bubblish. It's a little denser than the other one. I kind of like it. It's really good. I just got to work on getting my spacing. You can see right here, a little better. I had it set at 0, but it needed to be in the negative numbers apparently, so it could overlap a little bit. So far, so good. All right, guys. Got them quilted. I'll show you what they look like. This one is the tulips. It's got twin tulips going up and down all the way to the bottom. And we have bubbles. You see those pretty bubbles? It looks really cool on the back. Probably should use darker thread, but I like this. So now we're about to bind them. So I'm going to set us up so that I can show you how I bind them. And I made the hanging sleeves, and I will put those on by hand afterwards. But here's the bindings, already prepped. And here are the hanging sleeves. They're just parts that I cut off the extras on the edges of the backings. And I didn't even realize it, but I made them almost approximately the same length, not the same width. When I was doing it, I was just cutting them to make sure that they would fit on the back, but not be too long. It's kind of in the middle. So I'll hand stitch those on after I get the binding on. I'm going to bind by machine. I usually bind at least the last part by hand, but today I'm not feeling so great. I've got hip pain, elbow pain, wrist pain, hand pain from my rheumatoid arthritis, so we're gonna get it done so that I can move on to something else and not have to torture myself today. So I'm gonna get started on that. I'm gonna use a white thread. I might just use the same color thread to just do the entire binding. I thought about going from blue to switch to blue for the second part, but I don't know if I have any bobbins that match. I would probably, and I don't. I'll have some silver, and I mean, I don't even have any colors that'll match in my pre-made already bobbins. So what I'll probably do is I don't want to have to just wind up a whole bobbin of something that I'm not going to use. I'm probably just going to, because it's mine, just use what's in my machine, which is just my regular cotton or fill thread white, to do that. I think that's what I did on this one. Yep. And it looks just fine. So the blue one may stand out a little more, but I don't really care. So So it's my project, and you know, if I was gonna put it in a show or something, I would take the extra steps, but they're just mine to hang on my sewing room door, and so I'm not really worried too much about thread color, quite honestly. So we're gonna get started. So let me pull y'all close and set y'all down so that you can see what we're doing. And I'll be right back. All right, guys. So, got it set up where we can see my machine. What we do is I trimmed most of the straggly little threads. There's still a few, but we'll catch them as we go off of this. That's a really big one. Grab that one real quick. So, Pumpkin has decided to make her appearance. We lost her boyfriend this weekend. I had 3 cats. One was named Mr. Smee, and he was my oldest cat. He was fixing to turn 6 in May. Unfortunately, he had a catastrophic blood clot called a saddle embolism, and his back legs, and it completely paralyzed him, plus cut off all circulation to his back legs on Saturday morning. And we took him, rushed him to an emergency vet. There wasn't nothing really they could do for him, so we had him humanely put to sleep. And so she's a little sad, a little lonely. Needs extra attention. Not that she doesn't need attention any other time, but she lost her boyfriend. So say prayers for her and my kids and me. Because if you look on my Instagram, which is Mandy Cooks and Quilts, I think I just noticed today every other picture on there was a picture of Mr. Smee, because Mr. Smee was the ultimate project manager. He had to be on every quilt and in every project, and he lived when this cutting table was up in my bedroom. He lived on my cutting table. So we're gonna miss him, but it's not nothing we could have predicted. It was a very bad day. So this is Miss Pumpkin. She needs her loves before I start quilting. All right, Punk. You need to head on. All right. So now let's get back to it. I digress. Sorry about that, but it just kind of hit me. He was my quilting buddy. He didn't come down here much in the quilting room. He had just actually started coming down to the quilting room last week. And sitting on my couch and hanging out with me. He generally likes my bed. It's his favorite spot in the world. And when my quilting room was in my bedroom, that's where he stayed. So now we've got our binding that it's 2.5 inches. We folded it together. So we're gonna start about halfway down and about 8 inches down on this. So probably right about here, if you can see. And I do 1/4 inch, 1/3 inch, just whatever. I've started cutting my bindings 3 inches, but since this was pre-measured for 2.5 inches, I didn't want to risk not having enough. Some of them, I think this one actually was just 4 strips. That's all you could get from it. And you need almost all 4 for the binding. So, you start, and I'm going to, since this has got batting, I'm going to put my walking foot on, because it's 3 layers. It'll help it stay steadier. And I go a little bit, and then I adjust, just making sure that we're close to the edge. Everything goes pretty even. It don't have to be too perfect, but you don't want it way out in the middle here, because then it's not going to hold it. slow down as I get to the edge here because I got to go 1/4 of an inch, which is right about here. And I got to stop right there. And I need to go back and kind of top stitch it. Trim my threads. And do need to trim that. Notice that it's a little wide there. That way I don't have a lot of unevenness in the borders. Alright, so now what we do is we fold up and down like that, and that'll make us a perfect corner. Again, you fold up and then fold it back, and that'll give you a perfect corner. And you can pin, and lately I have been pinned because sometimes things slip. And when I'm doing it by machine, if I'm doing it by hand, I don't pin because I can hold it steady. And I can manipulate the fabric better by hand. But when you're on the machine and you're going, you can't manipulate the fabric, unfortunately. Sometimes to the best of your ability. So I kind of pin it over here on this corner because you're going to turn it. And you're going to find your 1/4 inch on this side, and you're going to start 1/4 inch from the top, right there, and you're going to do the same. I'm going to bump up the speed a little bit because we're going to be traveling for a little while. Give me a little bit more gas. Needle down. I always throw my needle down if I'm having to shift anything. That way things don't get wonky. And we just got to keep an eye out for that 1/4 inch on the end here. Stitch, 2 stitches back, trim those threads. That's okay. Yep, so we got about 1/4 inch. I'm gonna do the same thing. You're gonna fold forward, and then you're gonna fold back to create a corner. And then take my same pin, just take it out of that one. And pin it right here, just like that, so that it stays in place. Ouch, and I just stabbed myself. Job hazard. Okay. Alrighty, so now we're going to turn it. And small projects like this are good to practice your binding. Some people like to bind all of it from start to finish. One thing, but I tend to like to finish by hand. To me, it just gives it, I have more control, especially of a larger quilt. And that thing is going to stab me. Let me fix it. There we go. And we're going to go 1/4 inch down. About. You can mark it with like a pen, soul mark or pen mark or anything. But I just kind of guesstimate. And if I need to, I can always take a stitch out. It's a little too much. cuts. Alright, we're making it to the end here. One more stitch. Oh, that was too much. I'm probably going to have to cut some of those out. So let's trim it. Let's see. I think I went all the way to the end. And I just need to take one stitch out. It happens. Let me find the seam ripper. The bad thing is I have my stitches set very small. I'll take two of those. There we go. And we had to go over that just one more time, just to make sure that it's anchored there. Okay. Now, do the same thing. Almost to the end here. Straighten it out. Get your pen. I'll take that one out when I go around it. And you just straighten it out. And we go down about 1/4 of an inch. Straighten it up. Slow down, pay attention. We're looking for that 1/4 of an inch, which is right about there. And some people can put, and I did it again. I started talking. Alright, so let's just trim those threads. And I'm going to grab my seam ripper. Mr. Jack Sr. here. Pull these 3 out here and take a look. Yep, that's about where I needed it. So I'm going to just double down on that seam, just make sure everything holds. Okay, there we go. And now last one. Fold to the right if you're looking at it this way. If not, if you're looking from this way, it's the top, and then you fold back. And then you need a pin. I'll just fill this one. Just pin it so that things don't shift. Necessarily. Okay. And this one, you're only going to come down about 4 inches. You want to leave enough space so you can connect the two. I'll show you one way to connect the two. There's several different ways, depending on, you know, your comfort level and abilities. That did not go all the way down. little place. Oh, my, it's not catching up. Am I out of thread? No. There we go. That's close enough. Alright. I'll take these pins out so I don't stab myself anymore. And okay. So now we've got it, but we got some wiggle room so that we can adjust this. Now, we can do two things. First thing we got to do is measure 2.5 inches and cut one of these. I do the longer one, obviously. But you measure the bottom one and go over 2.5 inches. This is a 2.5 inch ruler. So I'll put it there. And then only cut the top one, not the bottom one, or you're going to be in a mess. What you doing? Miss Cinnamon. That's close enough. Okay. And you got just a little bit extra. Save this for a rainy day. Make a scrappy binding. Something else. Alright, now I'm going to pull this down here so you can see what I'm doing. Now you could fold these in about 1/2 inch, sew across the top, you know, top stitch, so that you don't have raw edges on both of these, and then just, or even just one of them, and just kind of feed them into each other, and then just sew all the way down, which I might do on this one. And you'll have a little bit of a hump there, but it's not that bad. Or you can do this. And this one's the trickier one, and sometimes I'm anally challenged and I can't get it to work right. But you take them and you make them meet up to form a plus sign, you know, like you regularly do on your bindings. And then you sew across the triangle, you know, you sew across from here to here, point to point. Sometimes it doesn't work well. I get anally challenged, something gets off. It just don't work when I'm running. So I tend to do the other one. And before you cut this, right here, before you cut where you've sewn point to point, fold it out to make sure it's the right way, because I have done that and I've totally messed up my binding before, that I sewed the wrong point to point, the opposite, and it didn't fold right. So this one did. So we're going to leave it like that. Okay, so now I can cut this little triangle that we made, like when you do your regular binding, just like that. I'll put that for a minute. And then you fold it over, and then you just continue to sew down. So, and I'll sew this down, then I'll start with the binding all the way around, and then I'll cut away and I'll just show you the finished product, because we're running out of time here on my phone. Finish this up all the way down to our starting point. And it should not have much of a bubble in it. Mine was about 1/4 inch off, so I'm probably going to have a little bit of a ripple. Try to work it in the best I can. It happens to the best of us. That's why I like hand binding a lot better. I I used to hand bind from start to finish. I attached it by hand and I sewed it on the back by hand. I just realized I probably put this on the wrong way. I'm probably gonna have to finish it by hand. That's how quilting works. So, change of plans. I will be sewing these by hand in just a few minutes because if I was going to do this fully by machine, I needed to attach it on the back, sew it to the front. So we will definitely have to cut it. And I did have a little bit of a pucker, but that's okay. It's not going to be that bad. Obvious. And when I pull it over to the side, it's not even off on the show. But in a perfect world, if I had put this on the right way, we would fold it over and we would just start sewing all the way down. But because I put it on like I do when I'm going to hand bind it, which is on the front and then pull it to the back, fold it to the back, I'm going to have to hand bind these. That's okay. I think my hands can handle it. But as you can see, our points are pretty good. So, you know, this is probably the best binding I've done on one in a while. So I'm probably just going to do both that way, and then I can finish them with the right color thread because I can pull it off the spool. My brain was already thinking what it wanted to do, and that's what we're going to have to do now. So, alrighty, so I will finish this other one up, and then I will show you the finished product. Stand by. Bye, y'all. All right, guys, I have got them all bound by hand. As you can see on the back here, flip it for you. Got the sleeves on to hang. Got the binding done. My stitches aren't even, but it's done. Gotta trim a few stray threads. But they're all done. This one. I love the back of this. I'm thinking I have a Toes in the Sand block of the month that I did 2 years ago. And I've been trying to find something that'll work. And I was trying to do something with bubbles and waves. But I kind of just love the bubbles. So we'll see. But yep, I got this all stitched on. A little light blue for thread. Matches pretty good. But, yeah. So we're done with these. They are ready to be hung up. First one will be hung up on Saturday after I go show it off at a quilt club. And then in June, I'll put up this beautiful summer sweets. And then I should be getting my next one next week. Will be 4th of July, patriotic one. Be interesting. So I'll get that one all sewed up. But yeah, this is really cool. I love these little mini projects. It kind of gives me a quick finish when I'm looking for a finish. So, because I have a lot of long-term projects, and these little short-term ones really kind of give me the gratification I need. So yeah. So we're doing good on that. Of course, as you can see, quilting never goes the way you quite want it to. You just have to learn to adapt and adjust. And I did. When I accidentally sewed the binding on the wrong way, I was not ripping that out. So I just bound them by hand, even though I really didn't want to. But it was relaxing. So, all right, guys. Thanks for watching my channel, and we'll see you on our next video.